Welcome, everybody. I'm Ken Foreman. I'm the Assistant Director for Leadership Programs at Stony Brook. And with me is
Dr. Terrence O'Connor. I'm an instructor and internship coordinator for Stony Brook University and Fordham University, and involved with the New York State Certification and Leadership Program.
We have a very popular test preparation series, which we're going to share with you some hints and where you can see it in the next slides. And we hope you will take note of this and perhaps visit our virtual classroom. So without further ado, I'm going to share the screen for our test prep program.
And we're going to get our pictures out of the way so the entire PowerPoint will be available to you. What we're going to do in this PowerPoint is really just to introduce you to how our virtual classroom works. We have historically always done this face-to-face, of course, in full-day training program. That's no longer really an option. So we took it upon ourselves to recreate almost word for word what we normally do in a leadership training program for the certification examination. Face-to-face is now going to be in a virtual classroom, which is housed in a special program and a special platform at Stony Brook University here on Long Island. So let's show you what we've got to offer.
Okay, so are you looking for a seminar that's going to help you be successful on the school building leader and school district leader examination? We have that seminar, and we used to do this seminar, say, face-to-face, and now because of the latest COVID crisis, we have converted that to an online virtual program. You can register for our virtual classroom at the site we provide, and we provide all the materials necessary for you studying and preparing for taking this examination. But don't take our word for it. Speak to your friends, speak to your colleagues, read our testimonials. Our test prep program is the real deal. So without further ado, let's move on to the next slide.
Let's look into. So just to clarify, as we're getting ready to move into the slide program, what you're seeing here today is an introduction. This is not the test prep program. To do that, you're going to have to log into our virtual classroom, which is headquartered and promoted through Stony Brook University, and we'll tell you how you want it. You can do that. So Ken and I have been doing this for a long time. We've been training and providing certification review processes for candidates for well over 12 years. Both Ken and I have been involved with the New York State and the certification exam process, and really have developed a pretty strong working knowledge of what the test requires and how to be most successful in looking at it. Our traditional all-day seminar, which would usually be from 9 to 3, has now been recreated in a virtual classroom. And what we're going to go through here today is how this virtual classroom works, what the test is all about, and how, if you choose, you can become part of our virtual classroom.
So what does that virtual classroom look like, Dr. O'Connor?
Good question, Dr. Foreman. In the virtual classroom, so what we did was we took a 5-hour seminar and broke it down into bits. Each bit, which is about 30 to 40 minutes, is directly focused on a specific component of the certification exam. It's important to know that the questions on the exam, that is the written questions, your written response questions, of which there are 6, 3 on part 1 and 3 on part 2, are actually on the Pearson website in the public domain. The questions are predetermined. They are available in our classroom. We go over each of the questions that you will be asked and to perform a leadership activity on, or 2. And then with the differences that in each of the tests, sometimes the scenarios and the data changes. So we have individual PowerPoints also. Our video, the PowerPoint program, which runs throughout the entire virtual classroom, will be available for you to download and print out to use as a note packet. We have other ancillary notes that apply to both the SBL and the SDL, which we also cover in our virtual classroom. All these handouts will be available to you if you sign into the classroom through Stony Brook, and you can download them and print them out as you see fit. The classroom window itself is a unique process in this platform that Stony Brook has created for us. The platform is open for 6 days, 24 hours a day for 6 days. Because we've created this into individual bits, you can come and go as often as you like. You can see a bit, which might take 30, 40 minutes. Use the notes appropriate for that. Because of other activities, you may have to come back tomorrow and do 2 more. And you can come and go at your leisure. You can replay the bits that you wanted to review again. It's all there for you within the classroom window. When you register for one of these windows, you acquire that 6-hour classroom activity. We also have, for each of the classroom virtual classrooms, we have a number of them that are scattered throughout the year related to the New York State certification exam windows. In each of those registration classrooms, we include a 1-hour live Zoom Q&A with both Dr. Foreman and myself. They're usually on Mondays from 7 to 8 p.m., where all the candidates who have registered for that particular session, and each session is a standalone. You can register for one, and that's your session. When you log into the Zoom Q&A, we interact. You can ask us questions about the test, things you don't understand, any type of clarification you might be looking for. So that's how the virtual classroom looks. It's really worked out very well. We've already run it twice for other test windows, and the candidates were very happy with it.
So let's look at the school building leader examination first. First thing you should note is an 8-hour exam, 8 hours, broken into 2 parts called Part 1, 107, and Part 2, 108. It's really important to note that we strongly urge you take these in separate sittings because each sitting is 4 hours in length, and you do spend every minute of the 4 hours at that computer. So it's very, very important that you separate taking each half of the exam on separate dates. More importantly, we really strongly urge you take Part 2 of the exam first, because there are some restrictions on booking that Part 2 of the exam, and seats become more problematic.
Yeah,
the exam is computer managed.
Yep.
And as you are typing, it's sending the response to the Pearson headquarters up in Malta, New York. So again, time is everything. This is a lengthy exam. We hope that you separate Part 1 and Part 2.
Yeah,
Dr.
just to
O'Connor?
emphasize how you do that, so important. Some people say, I want to do it all in one day. You need to know, if you want to do the New York State SBL certification exam in one day, that's 2 tests, 4 hours each, you're going to spend 10 hours in a test site between starting and lunch and back. 10 hours. It is incredibly rigorous to do that, and there's so much at stake. How do you take each part? Well, each part has a number. So if you were to take, let's say, Part 1, test 107, you would simply go into Pearson, create your personal account. I want to take a test. Well, what test do you want to take? You say, I want to take test number 107. Pearson, you then work with Pearson to find a test site that you can use, and you log in and you sign up for that exam. Now that and then you remove yourself from the site. Now you have an account. You could go back in 20 minutes later and say, well, I want to take another test. Oh, what is that test? Test 108. Now they'll help you find, the computer will help you find a test site that's available for another date. Taking them separately is so much more effective, and there's a statistically significant difference in the scoring process for people split them up versus most people who thought they might want to take them on one day. So let's see what the test looks like, Dr. Foreman.
So Part 1 of the exam in Part 1 has 41 selected response questions. That's a multiple choice question on steroids. That means Pearson provides for each question 5 or 6 graphs or charts, and then there is a bank of 4 multiple choice questions on those 5 or 6 charts. It's more complex than just A, B, C, D. Along with that, in part 1, there are 2 performance tasks, which are specific essays. They're very directed types of essays. One on instructional leadership, which deals a lot with data. Another one on equity and culture, integrating cultural diversity into schools. Part 2 of the exam only has 26 multiple choice questions. They are not as data-based as part 1, because part 2 is noted for the teacher observation video, the first of the human capital performance tasks, where you have to observe a lesson on screen. The second performance task or essay is a review of teacher performance in a particular school building. So that you're the school building leader and you have to make a decision on how teachers are working in their classrooms. The final essay is on family and community, and involves you as a school building leader in dealing with issues surrounding families and the community around the school.
I would just point out that in terms of the scoring process itself, on part 1, where you see the part 1, the selected response and the written responses, the performance tasks are 60% of your score. The 41 selected responses comprise 40% of your score. On part 2, test number 108, a separate test, standalone, you can take them in either order. Part 2, 108, the written responses of the teacher observation video and the human capital and family and community, those 3 written responses comprise 75% of your total score on test 108. So writing is important and answering these questions is important. And we delve into each of these written responses individually amongst those pre-recorded Zoom teaching programs.
We don't provide you with a set answer, but
No.
we will provide you with techniques on how to be successful on
That's right.
responding to these questions.
And how the assessors will view your answers in terms of what's expected of you.
So we're moving on to the school district leader examination, Dr. O'Connor.
Yes, now the SDL exam, school district leader exam, is much more on the old format, the traditional format. And it is 2 tests, 2 separate exams. Each one's targeted or tagged at about 4 hours. You can take either one in either order. But it's important to note that, in fact, this test is much more manageable. Neither test requires the 4 hours. You could do both parts in one day. Each part would require about 2 hours and 45 minutes, maybe 3 hours. So you could do one, and they're not as rigorous. The amount of information being asked of you, the amount of leadership expectations, although the leadership expectations are different in a school district leader, the test itself is much more manageable. It's looking at the macros. Dr. Foreman likes to talk about what the school district leader exam looks for. I don't know if you want to comment on that, Dr. Foreman.
Yes, I'm going to take a look at the exam now so that you can understand that as a school district leader, you're looking at a larger issue and not focusing on just one school building, but the entire school district. So here's how this test is broken down. There are 60 selected response or multiple choice questions. Rarely do they involve a multitude of graphs and charts. And they do have a paragraph or 2 and 3 or 4 questions based on that paragraph, but they're not as data enriched as the SBL exam. There are 2 short essays required for each part. One deals with accountability, another one deals with sustaining a vision. They're much easier to respond to, and they're less rigorous. Not that your answer has to be less rigorous, but in what you have to respond to is pretty much very straightforward. On part 2 of the exam, likewise, there are 60 multiple choice or selected response questions, similar to part 1. And there are 2 performance tasks as well, one on solving a problem and another one on dealing with a work issue called the work product analysis, in terms of you're the school district leader and solving a district problem.
Right. Just to point out that the even the difference in the way the test is scored in the school district leader exam, the selected response and the performance tasks are all scored equally, so that 50% of your score comes out of your multiple choice responses, and 50% of the score comes from your written response. Whereas and again, remember, part 1 or test 1 and test 2 are separate standalones. You can take them in either order. You can take them on separate days. They're not connected one to the other. So that's important.
But this test is manageable for one sitting. Candidates have reported to us that they can complete each part of the exam in about 2.5 hours.
Right.
So you could take the exam in the morning and then have a break for lunch and then take the second half in the afternoon.
Yep.
So where do you find us, Dr. O'Connor?
Well, if you're interested in pursuing more information about our test prep program, which is now in a virtual classroom, headquartered in a platform homed at Stony Brook University, we invite you to come on by. You can find out information about registering to take our virtual classroom at the link you see here to Stony Brook University, stonybrook.edu. And the virtual classroom, again, you would sign up for the classroom. The classroom opens on a Thursday and completes itself on a midnight on the following Tuesday. During that time, the classroom is open to you to come and go as often as you like, to pick out pieces you want to review or perhaps review a second time. Whatever works with your schedule. The classroom also includes study guides, study materials, and a complete printout of all the PowerPoints that we use directly into our instructional program for the test. And in addition to which, it includes the 1-hour live Zoom Q&A with Dr. Foreman and myself. We usually do that on Monday night after people have had an opportunity, candidates have had an opportunity to go through all the training materials. Another place you can see more information about us is at www.sbltestprep.com. That's a little website that we've created that has similar information. On the sbltestprep.com, you'll also see the multiple windows of the virtual classroom test prep training program. We have windows that are attached to each of the testing windows for the certification exam itself, which are put out by Pearson through a New York State SED. So there are usually about 5 testing windows throughout the year, and we have virtual classrooms relatively attached to each of those testing windows, so that people would do the review just prior to taking the 2 different parts of each of the exams. So that's the deal. You can track us down. You can send emails to us through sbltestprep.com if you have any questions. There's a link right there that comes directly to Dr. Foreman and myself if you have any questions.
So I'm going to also list, give you some helpful resources. If you don't know about it, you should. Preparing for Educational Leadership 3rd edition is the Bible for test preparation. I really urge you to purchase the book either in print or electronically. It is a great study guide and will sort of get you off on the right foot in studying for this exam. I also published another book, exam related, called Diving into Data. It really deals with just one aspect of it, and that is an instructional leadership question, which deals with data and analyzing data for school improvement. So really have to urge you should buy one. It really will be very helpful to you.
And I just want to chip in that even if you feel that you don't want to pursue these study materials for the New York State certification exam, please know that there are no really other robust study guides. I'm not trying to put anybody else down, Barron's or some of these others. A guy from New Mexico that puts out New York's National Ed Leadership Study Guides. They are generic. Most of the study guides simply go into the websites of the producer. It's either the College Board or Pearson or Collegiate, and they simply download what's available in the public domain. You can do that all for yourself. There are training materials on the sites. They're relatively minimal, but you could do that. I wouldn't waste any money if you don't want to do the books. And just know there's really nothing else out there for studying for the New York State Ed Leadership Certification exam.
So we do hope that you will join us in our virtual classroom.
Yeah.
We think that it's quite worthwhile, and everyone who's taken this virtual classroom and seen our lectures face to face have profited tremendously and got that little edge on the exam to help them be successful.
Yep.
We wish you the best and look forward to seeing you in our virtual classroom in the immediate future.
Good luck, everybody.
Good luck.
Ciao.